Welcome to the Tanya Acker Show. Welcome to the podcast, Robert Kool Bell. This is so incredible for me. I'm really excited to have you here. I grew up on your music, so thank you for coming.
Okay, thanks for having me.
You have no idea how many hours were spent, me around the rolling rink, to one of the incredible icons that you and your band produced. This year, of course, marks the 50th anniversary of hip hop. Kool And The Gang is the most sampled band in hip hop history. What is it like for you hearing so much of your music played back and recreated?
That's a great thing. I was told it was 1,800 samples. I had no idea we had been sampled 1,800 times. And over the 50 years of hip hop, of course, Kool And The Gang will be celebrating 60 years of Kool And The Gang, going back as far as the Jazzy Acts, the Soul Town Band, Kool and the Flames, and Kool And The Gang. So it's a great honor to be one of the most, not only in hip hop, we're one of the most sampled bands in the world.
So the Jazzy Acts, that was your original band, am I right?
Yes.
So did you always have music in your blood? Did you know that this was your path when you were a little kid?
Well, I mean, growing up in Youngstown, Ohio, my grandmother played a little piano. My uncles would have different jazz albums, and they would be playing John Coltrane and Wes Montgomery and, Freddie Hubbard and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then listening to the radio, you heard Motown and, all that was going on back in Youngstown, Ohio. And then we moved to Jersey City in 1960. And the band was formed as the Jazzy Acts in 1964.
So when you look at music then, and when you look at the music industry now, how would you describe some of the changes, both as a performer, and an artist, and as someone who consumes music? How has it changed over those 60 years?
Music then, you had 8-track tapes, and then you had vinyl and CD, and today we're talking about streaming. That's a lot of change right there in terms of how records are sold and made. And then back during that time, we had a lot of bands touring in the 70s, Ohio Players, George Clinton and the P-Funk Mob, the Delphonics and Intruders, OJs. It just goes on and on. So there's been a lot of changes now to what we have today. Not to say that these groups are not still working today, but now you got your Bruno Mars and your Ushers and the various other groups of today.
Do you think that streaming changes the way that people enjoy and appreciate music? I'm not afraid of dating myself. I remember buying albums like when I was a little kid. That's actually why I remember I used to always want to go to the record store, and my mother was like, "You can't spend your whole allowance on records. Go get a job at a record store if you want to do that." So that's what I did. I got a job at a record store so I could get the discounts. There was something about holding the album and then reading the lyrics on the back and then seeing the pictures. And I know that people can consume all of that digitally. I do. But do you think it's different somehow, like, losing that tactile sensation of holding the art in your hand?
Yeah, I miss the good old days, what you just said. To get the album, get the vinyl, read the credits, see who's playing on the album, And then you have vinyl that's sold. If you got a good deal, you got $1 a record. So that means if you sold 1 million records, you made $1 million, and et cetera, et cetera. Now, if you stream, I got to be honest with you, I don't know where that stream is going. I'm not into the streaming thing, But I understand that you get a wide audience, and streaming helps for your live shows and your live performance, and possibly bring some commercials to the table, or that seems to be what I know about streaming.
But it's harder to keep track of the money, right? It's harder to keep track of the streams, and you've got to rely on somebody else's numbers about the streams. So it's interesting. It's interesting hearing that from you. You've accomplished, you and the band, so much. 7 American Music Awards, 25 top 10 R&B hits, 9 top 10 pop hits, 31 gold and platinum albums. Sir, what's the thing that you're most proud of? Like when you look at the 60-year-long career, where you created anthems. I mean, anthems, the most sampled music that everybody knows. When this interview was confirmed, I was with some friends and they were like, oh my God, remember the rolling rink? So when you look at all of those things, what's the thing that you're most proud of?
Well, it's a blessing to still be around and to have accomplished all the various things that we have done. So I think that that's very important because a lot of people don't make it that long. You know, some make it 10 days, maybe a month, 2 years, et cetera, et cetera. But going into 60 years, that is indeed a blessing because the music
and you're
business,
still touring. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
Yes, no. Yeah, we're still touring. Before COVID, we were doing over 100 shows a year. And it looks like we might reach it now, 100 shows this year. And last year, I mean, just a couple of time periods, August of last year, we did 20 shows in Europe. December in Germany, we did 18 shows with the German Philharmonic Orchestra. And then we did a lot of casinos, a lot of clubs. And that's what we're doing now. So we're blessed to still be out there. There's only 2 of us, of the original members, that are still here. That's Mr. George Brown, my partner, and myself. Now, I have members who've been with me for 20 years and 20 years and 15 years. But I'm talking about the original, as we call the Magnificent Seven. You know, we only got 2 left.
Is it still fun? Does it still feel fresh when you walk out on stage?
It does, because we play for people and fans all over the world. So that's always a good feeling, you know, when you're in England or Spain or Germany or Yugoslavia, and then going on down to Rio and Chile and Buenos Aires, on over Japan. And so, you know, all those fans are constantly waiting for us, and we didn't see them for 2 years. And now they're waiting on us, you know. The album that George Brown put together is that people just want to have fun. And his single, which is our single, Kool And The Gang, is Let's Party. So they're waiting to have fun again. They're waiting to party again. And I say to my fans, we're on the way. See you soon.
I'm with that. Listen, I mean, honestly, just keeping it real, 60 years is a long time to be performing. It's a long time to be touring. And touring, from what I understand, you know, when I hear people describe it, it's taxing. It's tough. How do you stay in shape? How do you stay so fit? What's the secret?
You try to eat well and eat the right foods and exercise, get your exercise in, prepare yourself, because touring today, you know, because of COVID and all the other problems, getting to the airports 2 hours earlier, going through the TSA lines and going through all those changes.
Oh, it's a mess.
To go where you're going. I mean, what happened to the good old days? You go to the airport and get on the plane, and that's it. It's very difficult, you know.
So what kind of exercise do you do? Tell us, like, you wake up in the morning and what is your regimen? Because people are going to look at you and be like, I got to have some of that program and regime. If you're able to keep touring and keep doing everything that you're doing, I think people want to know a little bit more about your secret sauce. So tell us about the day.
I like to walk a lot. I get up in the morning, I try to walk a mile, 2 miles. Try to do a few push-ups. Can't do them like I used to. Couple of sit-ups, you know. Just staying in shape. You know, I'm not a vegetarian, but all I eat is fish. Now, you know, I can't tell people to change their diet. People eat what they do. But by just eating my diet, you know, I haven't eaten any meat in over 10 years, but I eat fish, so it has helped me. Now, I'm just talking with myself. Others, they do their own thing, but that's what I do.
Let's go back to the music for a moment. And this is a tough question. I couldn't even answer it for myself because you have so many anthems, just songs that have become iconic. But do you have a favorite? Like, is there some piece of music, something that you've done where you're like, this encapsulates 60 years of Kool and the Gang?
Well, there's quite a few children.
That's what you call them, children? Your children. Sweet.
Hollywood Swing is one. That record broke in New York by a gentleman by the name of Frankie Crocker. He broke Hollywood Swing in New York. He even called himself the Hollywood Swinger. Then I got to go to Ladies' Night, hanging out in New York at Studio 54 in Regimes. And that's right when JT had joined the band. And we said, wow, this is a ladies' night. Because it was a ladies' night, going into Studio 54 or some other club. So I came back to the band. I said, listen, I got a great idea. They said, what? I said, ladies' night. And they said, wow. My brother said, wow, there's a ladies' night all over the world. And then George Brown, who was one of the key writers, he says, he was walking down the street in New York, and he was watching how people were walking. Dong, 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 dong. And we put that all together. So that got to be another one of my favorites, Of course, Celebration, one of the most popular songs in the world today still.
I don't think I've ever gone to a wedding, like including my own probably, where that song was not played. I do not think that I've ever been to a wedding, and maybe something slipped through the cracks, but I would be very surprised. That is an anthem for sure. That's a real anthem.
Well, speaking of weddings, you have Celebration and you have Cherish. Those are the popular ones, from what I was told at a wedding.
What do you like to listen to these days? Who are some of your favorites?
Believe it or not, sometimes I just listen to classical music. But I do listen to, right now I'm listening to Spotify. And Spotify is playing everything. And like we have a channel, a Spotify channel, and you hear a lot of our music. Then I hear the OJs or the Delphonics. And then you might hear some by Bruno Mars, So that's kind of how I zero in today.
Let's talk a little bit, if we could, about some of your philanthropic work. Preserving music education is important to you. Talk to us a little bit about the Kool Kids Foundation. What kind of work are you up to there?
Well, the Kool Kids Foundation was started and founded by my wife. I mentioned earlier about hanging out in New York. Sakina, she wanted to put music back into schools. And coming up, out of high school, they had music classes. And I went to the class and I took home the violin. Didn't quite like it. I tried the cello. It was all right. I tried the mellophone. I said, no, I ain't messing my lips up. I had to play the bass, the bass guitar. But I'm just saying that you don't have that anymore. So that's one of the things that she wanted to do. And what we do do fundraising for the Kool Kids Foundation. Our next one is going to be July 11th in Livingston, New Jersey. This is my fourth one. And we raise money and we donate money to schools and buy instruments and that kind of a thing.
I feel like I've heard or read somewhere, and I don't think these are bad facts that I'm spouting, that music education is actually good for kids in other ways, that it encourages and facilitates other types of learning. So that's wonderful. That's wonderful that you're doing that. How long has the Kool Kids Foundation been doing this work in schools? And are you only in New Jersey?
Close to 7 years when she started this. A couple of years before she got sick, I decided to get more involved with it because I was traveling a lot on the road. And then my two sons got involved. My son, Muhammad, and Hakeem, and There's another gentleman by the name of Mark Goldberg who does various foundations. Of course, Angelo Ellaby, my publicist. So we're all trying to make it happen. I did a tour back about 10, 15 years ago, whatever, and it was sponsored by Coca-Cola at the time, Cherry Coke. And the thing was, it's cool to stay in school. We did 48 cities, and then the students that had a good grade, good academics, doing well in school, was able to do a meet and greet with us. And we were in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and these four guys came up to us and said, "Hey, I'm doing good in school. We're doing good in school. We're gonna sing something for you." So these guys got together and a cappella. They sang about 2 or 3 different songs. And then so my cousin and my other cousin said, "Wow, we need to take these guys to New York," which we did. And that group became Color Me Bad.
That's you're crazy. What?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
From Cool to Stay in School, touring, and Color Me Bad.
That's crazy. I didn't know that story. Oh my gosh. So the moral there is that people should run around and start singing a cappella. You never know who might be listening. You never know what could happen.
That's
Less road rage, more a cappella singing. Tell us something that you think people would be surprised to know about you.
Well, I spent a lot of time in Africa over the years, at least 30, 40 years. We did a project in Africa called The Children of Africa. It was done in Nigeria, had the blessings of the late Nelson Mandela. I have various groups that supported me on that. Working on something now in Zimbabwe, Angola, Ivory Coast. So I guess what I'm saying is that I've been doing things in Africa for many years. That's one of the things that some people might know about what I do and others might not.
When you take a look back at your musical career, 6 decades, Kool and the Gang has been performing and touring. Who are some of the artists who you remember most fondly? I know you've probably met everybody, but who are the people who you're like, wow, that person, that artist made an impact. They really, a positive one. Who are some of the people who touched you personally?
Well, growing up, we're about the same age almost. Stevie Wonder, the things that he have done and his music, even Earth, Wind and Fire, and the type of thing that Maurice was doing and saying, and that whole ancestral pyramid sort of a vibe that he was coming with. Then you had people like Miles Davis, who my trumpet player definitely was behind, and Ron Carter, Reggie Workman, John Coltrane. It's so many different inspirations. Marvin Gaye. And then I have to give all due respect to the other side of the fence, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Kid Rock, which we did 10 shows with about 3-4 years ago, Van Halen, which we did 48 shows with. We just been doing our thing.
That's a real mix of artists. What was it like touring with Kid Rock and Van Halen?
Well, Kid Rock would say, "Hey man, I sampled one of your songs." I didn't know that. I said, "What song was that?" He said, "I got a piece of Love and Understanding." I said, "Okay, interesting." David Lee Roth was telling me, he said that back in the day, they used to play in the clubs out in California, jungle boogie, a little bit of funky stuff. I said, "I didn't know that about you guys." He said, "Yeah." And then when we was getting ready to do the tour, people were saying, "What? Kool and the Gang and Van Halen? What has David been smoking over there?" Because he saw us in London. Yeah, he saw us in London at the Glastonbury Festival, and that was all rock groups. And he called up Eddie and Alex. He said, "I got the perfect group that want to go out with us for." And this was a reunion tour, him coming back, and that's when he said, "Yeah, you guys had ladies' night, we had jump," and he said 60% of my fans are ladies. I didn't know that either, and that's what happened.
Your music, I mean, one of the cool things about Kool and the Gang is that it really, because it's so iconic and like there are these anthems, it really crosses genres and boundaries. You transcend a lot of that. So before we go, there are so many young artists, people getting started, people who may be in the business now. It's a tough one. What's your advice for having a career that is as long and steady and successful as yours?
Well, I would say stay strong, don't give up. Learn what you can about the music business, writing, publishing, how your music is placed in various things, movies. Good lawyer, and make sure you pay your taxes. Because the IRS is going to be your partner to the end of your life. 50-50 sometimes.
Pay your taxes.
I got one more other thing that I didn't. You said that people might not know about me. I have a champagne. The champagne is called Le Kool champagne.
Le Kool champagne. Where can
about,
we find it? Is it nationwide?
Not yet, in nine states, but it came about 5 years, 6 years ago. I'm touring in France and in Paris, and the promoter said, "Hey, listen, I'm doing something with Barry White, and I'm doing something with one of the Bee Gees. And would you like to have some champagne sold at your tour?" I said, "Well, I don't know if I want to do that. I don't know if my fans would want to buy a bottle of champagne after the concert. They're going to want T-shirts and caps." I said, "But what I would like to do, I want to get on the shelves." So I guess I caught him by surprise. He looked at me and said, "On the shelves?" I said, "Yeah, on the shelves. Like Dom Perignon, Berkeley Cole, Dom Renard, Cristal. I want to be up into the champagne country." And I came up with the name, Le Kool Champagne. I cut my deal with the Berthelot family, who was one of the strong families up in Reims and Ypres. Now,
In
around
France.
here,
In France.
yeah, that's where it's made, manufactured. That's the vineyards. But in America, we're in New York, we're in Georgia, we're in Florida, we're in Kentucky. Let's see, we're in Ohio. We just closed our deal in Vegas, and we have a residency in Vegas. And so we were pushing the Kool in Vegas as well. So we're growing. You know, it's you have to build and you have to grow. And maybe one of the big boys would say, "Hey, I'll take you national." But right now, you're not a Dom Perignon. You're not no Cristal.
Not yet. Not yet. I can't let you go now that you opened that door, because I feel like there's a big story in that, right? So someone says, "Here, why don't you maybe do this small thing, like sell some champagne after the concert?" And you took that and you said, "Nope, not really, I think the thing for my audience, but let's go do something big, like create a champagne line that you now, and do a deal with a vineyard in France and get on the shelves in the United States." That is, there are a lot of pieces to all of that. So give some advice now to young entrepreneurs about how to put all of those pieces together, because that was an opportunity that you just built and grew into what will be the next champagne empire.
Yeah, well, again, don't give up. Stay strong. When we first started, they said, "Well, you know how much money it takes to market champagne? You know how difficult that is?" I said, "Yeah, I'm ready for the challenge. I'll deal with the challenge." I said, "But do you know, whenever they're drinking and celebrating Dom Perignon, what song are they playing? Did you know that?" They said, "Oh, celebration." I said, "Uh-huh." So we got our celebration. Not only that we have celebration, we have a champagne to go with it. We have a Grand Cru. We have a Blanc de Blanc. We have a rosé, and the ladies love rosé. And we got one called, this summer coming, the First Lady. We probably send you a bottle of that.
You
We're ready.
will? What? I'm ready for the summer. I do love a nice rosé in the summer.
Okay.
Oh,
All
Robert
right.
Kool Bell, this was just a treat, an honor, a pleasure. I am so glad you were here, and I do hope you'll come back. Congratulations on all. Thank you for being around and doing what you do. And we're going to look forward to the champagne. Robert Kool Bell, I appreciate you for being here.
Thank you.